Swelter, easily one of the most hyped up Half-Life 2 mods that I've seen online, and after playing it, the hype was definitely well deserved. On the Swelter Steam store page, I noticed that the Snowdrop Escape dev team were the ones who made the mod. They've had previous experience with making Snowdrop Escape, another very well received Half-Life 2 mod. With this in mind, my expectations were going to be a little higher than usual in terms of story and gameplay, in which I certainly think were met. Now, the base premise for this mod. Swelter takes place in the hot climate of Central Asia at City 545. It's also noted that this takes place a few years before Gordon Freeman arrives at City 17. The overarching story is about you, a Lambda Resistance member, trying to make amends with a former ally to fight back against the Combine. You travel from afar and arrive at City 545 to begin your journey, disembarking from a train at just the right moment. Now, before I begin, I recommend you play this mod for yourself, as this is your first and last spoiler warning. The mod link will be in the description of the video. It's free to install and has hours of content to play through. And one last thing, thank you for watching. At the main menu screen of Swelter, there are a couple of new mod-specific menus that you can open before playing. The first one is the shooting range and bonus maps. Here you can find all of the story maps, as well as a shooting range and 2 bonus maps that I'll cover later in the video. The second menu is the mod-specific options. Here you can change different things, such as your weapon position, subtitle options, and reloading options. We start off on a train heading towards City 545. We read this book to help explain why we are on this mission in the first place. Previously, the Lambda Resistance had made their way into Central Asia, meeting another resistance group called the Black Squads. The group is led by their leader named Roki. Them and the Resistance partnered up to help with the refugees and other problems. However, they declared that they had different goals from the Lambda Resistance and became a hindrance, no longer working as allies. Right after, a woman comes into your train unannounced to help clarify what we just read. She tells us how we need to infiltrate Roki's Black Battalion and hesitantly says, to make amends. There's also an agent named Academic. If we earn his trust, it'll be our entry pass to get into the battalion. The last thing we're told is that the train doesn't stop in the city anymore and that we have to jump off. With that out of the way, we get up and head down the corridor, passing by some guy ODing, and get to the carriage door. As we peacefully jump off the train, it's revealed that we had hit our head and now have semi-permanent brain damage. After the title screen plays, we get woken up by a train yard officer and are sent on our way to leave. Looking around the train yard just shows the amount of effort that the developers have put into this mod, as it encapsulates that Half-Life 2 dystopian feel. The polish and detail show in places where you wouldn't typically go, such as these containers off to the side. There is no reason to go in there, but it adds to that level of immersion and world building. One more thing to go along with this are the NPC interactions. Throughout the game, you'll sometimes come across different civilians that you can interact with. I personally find that small details like this really add to environmental storytelling. Anyways, walking up to the overpass and heading inside this building, a Metro cop is shown to be killing off innocent civilians before spotting you. He'll throw a grenade over towards you, blowing up a window and allowing you to escape. However, this has alerted the Combine to come after you. You jump on top of this train, hopping off once you see a building on the left that takes you into City 545. On the other side, you'll come across these 2 guys here talking about stuff to do with water, before quickly chiming in to say, all within the law of course. Further down the street is a door with a Lambda symbol on it, obviously implying that a few Resistance members are hiding in there. Heading inside, you're met with other Resistance members. You show off your badge for authenticity before one of them takes you to a whiteboard to report on the local situation. They state how the city was on strike, demanding that the Combine fix a water issue in the city. The Combine had punished everyone instead. Multiple underground groups had then begun to take control of the city as a rebellion, now controlling a fifth of the city. Once we get into those areas, we should have no problem with ammo and weapons. Leaving the building and heading across the street, another civilian offers you some equipment which includes some body armor with biosensors and a journal. This journal is a new mechanic that helps you stay on track in case you can't figure out what to do, as well as explain your current objective.
How convenient.
Climbing out of the room and entering the courtyard, there will be a metro cop that blocks your way. Killing him will alert others in the area of your location. You can pick up a pistol dropped by a metro cop alongside some health syringes on a higher floor. These are really only needed for dire moments as they don't heal that much and are pretty much sparse throughout the entire game. Jumping out of the apartment and running past an APC as a civilian gets hit, a guy in the window above asks us for the rockets next to us. Passing them up, he'll shoot down the APC, and we are rewarded with this shed full of loot, which also includes the SMG. The SMG in this mod has iron sights that you can actually use, unlike Half-Life 2. It still bugs me that you can't use them in that game. After being welcomed in by the underground, we'll find Academic giving a speech about life outside City 545. Academic asks you to help him clear the streets to help move a van full of refugees wanting to flee the city. Following him out of the building, a group of metro cops come out of the street to attack you. After the fight, Academic notes that the hole in front of us wasn't here that long ago, and that we need to detour through this blocked gate. Heading into the broken road, you'll need to push this washing machine to get past this turret and fight a few metro cops. Doing so will lead us to this other side, allowing us to open the gate and move on. After opening yet another gate blocking our path and crossing the street, Academic knocks on a door tagged with a lambda symbol. A civilian will open the door and let us in. He'll task us with helping outside while him and Academic route where to go next. Outside, you help fight against a line of Combine, helping clear out the yard as well as a building that the Combine had been using. Jumping out of the building to the other side, a Resistance member hands you a shotgun to help you with escorting a truck. After killing a few Combine, the truck's fuel tank breaks, requiring you to patch it up before an APC comes out of a gate. There's a rocket launcher off to the side that you can use to blow it up. Once you hook up the truck to the Combine wall, before anyone else can pass through, a missile strikes at the wall, blocking you off from everyone else. Going underneath the Combine infrastructure and coming out the other side, you'll be targeted by multiple mortar strikes. However, a soldier in one of the apartments inside invites you in. Going into the building, you'll soon meet Demo Man. It was quite obviously based off the Demo Man from TF2.
Well, I can't find them. What do you mean you can't find them? I can't find them, there's only soup. What do you mean there's only soup?
He makes a deal with us. He'll blow up the barricade to help us continue further if we help him and his group. Going back down, Demo Man blows up the barricade and we enter a refugee camp. There's a bulletin board off to the side, showing off the different xenofauna in the area. Taking the elevator up, you'll meet a girl who gives you a Mosin Nagant. Is that how you say it? In which I'll be referring to as the rifle. Stepping out to the balcony, you can use the rifle to shoot a few Combine soldiers to stop the mortar on top of the school. Before you can shoot the last one, the soldier activates the mortar and targets the apartment, setting it on fire and causing us to evacuate. Back on the ground, a group of civilians as well as Demo Man help blow up the gate to the school. Going inside and fighting our way through a few Combine, we enter the rooftops where we can send a signal to blow up the mortar. Down below, a person with a megaphone tells us to meet Academic at the bar. Once we enter and head down this freakishly long and dark hallway, we meet back up with Academic as he explains that we're taking this shortcut through a warehouse to meet back up with the van. Inside, you can pick up a full PCV armor, now allowing you to charge up your armor for extra protection. We however get spotted and get swarmed by Combine soldiers, having to fight through them until we reach a room at the opposite side of the warehouse. Academic finds a security terminal and asks us for us to deactivate the 3 hardware terminals to power down the Combine force field. Once we do that, we head downstairs and open up a Combine door. However, before Academic can pass through, the door closes and we get ambushed by the Combine once more. After taking down the Combine, Academic opens another door that leads us into an ongoing street war. Good news though, Academic tells us that once we get through this, the van will be successfully transported and we can leave the city in search for Roki. So, by running down the street, picking up some grenades and lobbing them into a Combine fortress, Academic can cross the street and use a forklift for us to crawl our way through past a Combine wall. On the other side, a truck comes smashing through a gate before a missile turret blows up the front of it and targets you. Entering into the building, there will be a switch puzzle that you need to figure out to get to the second floor. Going into this room with a roof turret and deactivating it will also deactivate the Combine force field around the missile turret. Once you blow it up with some grenades, Academic will meet you back down at the entrance of the building. Moving the truck out of the way will allow the van of refugees to finally get to their destination, all the while Academic waits at a cellar door. He thanks you for your efforts and asks you that you continue on your journey to the Black Battalion before opening the door. Going through the dark passage and walking out the other end, you have now officially left City 545. From this point on, you'll be on your own for the rest of the mission, only interacting with other people every now and then. Here is also where we get our first real introduction into that hotter Central Asian environment, as we see a long forgotten city covered in sand. Up above is a wooden bridge to cross the broken road. Lowering it and passing through a building with a couple of zombies will take us to an antlion nest. This can be blocked off like how they are in Half-Life 2, by just simply placing something over the top of them, such as these concrete tubes. Climbing through the collapsed structure and entering the underground bunker, we're met with a familiar face, Jeff. Now, if you're unfamiliar with who this is, I made a video about another mod, Evacuation, in which Jeff is one of the soldiers you meet in that mod. One thing to note is that on the Swelter mod DB page, both dev teams are actually good friends, and so adding Jeff to Swelter as a cameo is pretty cool in my opinion. Meeting up with the bunker's leader, we are quickly told that another station nearby is setting up some sort of transportation for us to get to Roki. Before you go, there's a cassette tape in the next room waiting for you. On that tape is the same woman from earlier who helps us to remind us of our mission and what to do. Coming out of that bunker, we're met face to face with a bull squid from the original Half-Life. I do wish that these guys would make an appearance at least in one more level other than this one, but nonetheless, it's still cool to see some older xenofauna in the newer mods. Oh, and in a beached boat, you can find a Vortigaunt smoking a bong.
Well met. Could you but see the eyes inside your own, the minds in your mind, you would see how much we share.
Wild stuff, man. Wild stuff. In order to get past this electric door blocking your way to the next station, you'll need to turn off the power by doing a simple puzzle. First, throw whatever you can up to the switch to deactivate it to open a door to this shipping container. Inside is a stick of dynamite that you can throw up at this switch to blow it up and open the door. Climbing your way up and crossing into the station's main building, we will meet the station leader who will give us this magnet pusher. It works similar to the gravity gun, however, it can only push metal objects and doesn't have the option to pull anything towards it. Making our way down, the station leader will tell us that there's a car in the garage down below that we'll need to take. Before you can drive off, you'll need to do a simple circuit puzzle to redirect the power to open the garage door. The car itself is equipped with a radar to locate caches that are hidden around the map, which is based off the same mechanic from episode 2. After driving through a small settlement and running down some ant lines, you'll make it to this small commune being ravaged by an attack of more ant lions. A guy at the front of the commune will direct us to go to the leader, in which the leader will ask us for our help against the ant lions by using the sandbag repeller. So, by moving the sandbag repeller and hooking it up to power to scare away the antlions, we're rewarded gratefully. Before we leave, the leader informs us to stay away from the resistance and anything to do with them, as all they bring is trouble due to their conflict with the Combine. We're told that up the road is a village that had unfortunately sided with the resistance, showing the sheer brutality of the Combine. After taking the gifts by the commune and pushing away these cars blocking the road, you will be stopped in a courtyard infested with, you guessed it, more antlions. By helping this lady out with a thumper to scare away the antlions, you can continue on your journey to find Roki. Not long after, your screen will flash red while a loud thumping sound plays. This seems random and unimportant for now, but will have major side effects later on in the game. We will be once again stopped in our tracks as we come across yet another gate that is connected to a workshop. Crawling underneath this rolling door and exploring the workshop, there will be a generator you can turn on to lower the car in front of you. After a quick round of carpal tunnel by winding up the engine to start the car, it will start and be set to neutral, rotating its wheels to power the building. You can climb on top of the roof to knock down a bundle of steel to open the gate. After driving not too far up the road, you'll arrive at this yellow building only to realize its doors are locked by a passcode. So, you continue down the road and make it to this house. And on a sign in big bold numbers is the code to the yellow warehouse. In order for us to, yet again, open a gate to continue forward, you'll need to find this canister of electrolytes to open the gate. So, by going back to the yellow warehouse and entering the code, you can find the electrolytes. But it seems that you're stuck in this area. I too was confused as to how to get out. But what you're supposed to do to get out is grab a flammable barrel, shoot at it as it's under the elevator, and jump onto the platform as it blows up. It's very creative? Anyways, going back to the outpost and filling up the station's power supply, you can pass through the gate and make your way to the village that the commune had talked about earlier. The village itself looks pretty eerie. The old, abandoned buildings and hung up bodies help give it that Ravenholm vibe. It's then revealed that the Combine had deployed head crabs in retaliation to the village, as there are going to be a lot of zombies in this area. However, we'll be stopped at the end of the village as a gate stands in our way. After parking your car and heading into the building on the right, there will be another switch puzzle with a locked door. Fighting your way through zombies, you'll find a gas canister that can be used with a generator to power the switch. Now, what you're supposed to do is throw something up to the switch to deactivate it, so that way you can shoot the cord so the door stays open. But instead of shooting the cord, I thought I had to time the power outage as the door opens, so that way I can run through as the door slams behind me. You know, that head injury must be really kicking in, eh? After avoiding a grenade trap and climbing into another building, we find a cassette tape with a recording on it. This guy announces their affiliation with the Resistance, saying that it's our planetary duty, which, in my opinion, begs the question of who's really the antagonist of the story. So far, it's shown that everyone who has sided with the Lambda Resistance has suffered due to the Combine conflict, whereas the Black Battalion seems to be laying low and keeping to themselves. I'll touch more on this later. After disconnecting the power to the village, we can pass the gate that had stopped us here, and we soon meet up with some other Resistance members at a railway line. We're told that further along these tracks is a camp that we can stay at and replenish our supplies. However, we'll have to hide the car and walk on foot for just in case reasons. So, by avoiding all of the antlions that are still following us and passing by a Combine force field, we will make it to the Black Battalion camp. Inside is a small get-together of a few members eating and listening to this guy playing his guitar. By going up to this soldier and showing him your card, he tells you that Roki is downstairs. After the massive journey you've taken, you're finally going to meet Roki, and see his point of view on the Resistance Civil War. As Rookie comes over to us, we show him our card, and he welcomes us into the Black Battalion. Rookie then tells us to see the contraband that he has, so that way we can't make any conclusions about his methods. We follow him downstairs into a container. Inside this container is a source engine, baby. The woman in the container states that it would be impossible in the city for this to happen, and that there will now be a future because of this. As we step out of the container, we get alerted of a Combine chopper approaching the camp. By jumping out of the building, we are given a grenade launcher to try and defend the camp as a last resort, as the rocket launcher isn't working. As far as Half-Life bosses go in general, this was definitely a surprise as to how fun it was. In order to defeat the chopper, you'll need to fire these grenades up to it and bend the blades so that way it crashes. I do think that the missile firing was a bit more on the extreme side, as avoiding missiles for like 5 seconds is pretty tough. Plus, we get to listen to Something Secret Stares Us, which is also pretty nice. Once the chopper crashes and blows up, we go back to Roki and jump onto a train with him. He's invited us to participate in a very special operation, which will help humanity's survival in Roki's eyes. Straight after, the loud thumping starts to happen again, as we fall back into a chair. Maybe that fall from earlier is starting to catch up to us. After we wake up, we're greeted to this very nice looking sunset, as well as Roki commemorating us for helping him with this cause. As we make our way into the mysterious structure, a huge metal gate blocks our way. Thankfully, it's just a simple puzzle that requires us to hook it up to a power station and replace its fuse to open. As we go deeper inside of the tunnel, Roki reveals to us that this is a secret tunnel that leads into a nuclear bunker. This tunnel also leads into an Overwatch Nexus building that the Combine has no knowledge about. We soon jump off the track and meet up with some soldiers who are going to be assisting us with this mission. Once we make it past a gate and an elevator, we arrive at the secret entrance for the Nexus building. Everyone else splits off. We follow Roki as we make our way through a Combine security system. We continue through the building until we reach the main tower of the Nexus building. Inside, each corner is riddled with Combine soldiers, making some fights a lot harder than I'd like to admit. One of the other mechanics that you can find in this building are the floor turrets from the later levels of Half-Life 2. These can be simply destroyed by throwing a grenade into a gap and blowing them up. By making our way through many waves of Combine in different traps, we'll reach this room that Roki will climb into. In there, he deactivates most of the Combine force fields in the surrounding area, until we reach the main room, which houses an energy bowl. By using the magnet pusher, we can force it out and deactivate the rest of the power to this part of the tower. You and Roki make your way over to the soldiers from earlier before heading towards the next area. We're then introduced to a new gimmick of the mod, which I think is really cool. This is a permanent charger. When you're hooked up to it, you'll get an infinite supply of suit energy at the cost of it only working at a certain range. We use this to shield ourselves off from the Combine shooting at us, so that way we can pass by and meet up with some of Roki's men. While they go and steal some data from the Combine system, we have to scout around and kill whatever Combine we can. You make your way through many waves of Combine, climbing up a stairwell until you reach a roof. Inside that roof, you'll be snuck up on by multiple elite Combine soldiers as you try to pass by. Once you make it to the next room, a bunch of Roki's soldiers will confuse you for the Combine as they nearly kill you while you blow up the roof above them. We then follow Roki down into the underground lobby as he tells everyone to leave once they're done. As we get down there, it becomes a massive wave after wave fight between all of Roki's soldiers and a new style of the Combine soldiers. Here, you can luckily find another permanent charger to help you out in fighting against the Combine. We are, however, forced to retreat as the Combine throws in only what I can assume is some gas. We retreat back the way we came, quickly running back towards the secret entrance before that loud thumping plays again. This time we fall to our knees, throwing up as we fall to our side. Roki accompanies you, trying to make sure you get out of there alive as he carries you away before the screen fades into another scene. You wake up in a hospital bed before walking out of the room and meeting the same woman from the train once again. She blames us for not reporting on the mission. She then questions us, asking if we were dropped onto our head. That then triggers something for the player as the screen zooms out. We are suddenly put back in the past, walking over to a few Lambda Resistance members. They explain how the Resistance and the Black Battalion clash, and reveal something that changes the entire meaning of the mission. It's simple: assassinate Roki and make it look like an accident. The Resistance will then take over and control the whole of Central Asia, only leaving the Combine in their way. It's also revealed that the phrase "to make amends" was only a cover-up for "to kill Roki," to keep as low-key as possible to not alarm Roki. Chaika, who we now know the name of, helps us remember our main mission and goal before telling us that Roki must be killed before a plane has landed. You walk outside, meeting Roki in a car as he explains his plan with the plane. Due to the breach of the Combine system, they'll be after us until we're dead. So, Roki comes up with a plan to fake our deaths. We get out of the car, walking onto the plane as Roki shows us the decoy corpses that we'll be using as we parachute off of the plane. As we take our parachute, a fleet of drones are spotted to be following the plane. Roki tells us that there's a gun in the rear of the plane that we can use to shoot down the drones. Up top of these hashtags, each one represents a life. Obviously, if you lose them, you die.
No!
For what it is, I find this to be a pretty fun sequence, and think that it's pretty fair in terms of the number of drones and their health. Soon, a huge annihilator flies overhead. Before we can continue fighting, you'll need to quickly do this bar puzzle to repair the system. We can't be seen with the parachutes with the annihilator flying around. However, Roki has prepared a drone for us to use to take it down. Using these terminals, you'll be the one shooting as Roki pilots the drone around. To defeat the boss, all 3 targets must be hit for it to go away, which can be pretty tough with Roki's dodgy flying skills. Once the annihilator goes away, the whole atmosphere of the plane changes as Roki wants to talk to you. As we take a seat, the plane gets hit as we are shown a video on a laptop. It's a message from Academic, warning Roki about any suspicious rookies that might want to assassinate any high-power leaders. Before we know it, we are blown off the plane and sent into the air. Now, before I continue into the ending, I want to bring up that conversation I had about the Resistance Civil War. Up until this point, the Lambda Resistance has been seen as troublesome and power-hungry, throwing those away who have the slightest of different ideals than them. Thus, they want to kill Roki and be the only resistance faction in Central Asia, seeing Roki's plan as foolish and a waste of time. On the other hand, the Black Battalion have been keeping to themselves, not wanting to interfere with the Combine. They want to play the long game. Even if it may not work out, they still want a chance at their idea. So, the reason as to why I'm bringing this up is because you are given a choice. As you're falling into the air, you're holding onto Roki by a rope as the both of you pull your guns out on each other. There are a total of 3 decisions. You can either save Roki, kill Roki, or wait 10 seconds for Roki to make a decision. In my first playthrough, I chose not to kill Roki. In this decision, we both throw away our guns, and a monologue plays explaining what happens afterward. Due to the failed assassination, the Lambda are forced to retreat with their reputation ruined. The data extracted from the Nexus mission allowed Roki's team to avoid all the combat with the Combine and live freely. After the events of Half-Life 2, civilians found refuge in Roki's camps in the steppe. For the second ending, if you were to kill Roki by shooting him in the head and completing the mission, this bit of dialogue plays. Without Roki, his communes became scattered and uncoordinated. The Lambda converted most of City 545's underground to their side, and that the steps were now a trusty ally of the Lambda resistance. Thus, the regular events of Half-Life 2 occur. And finally, if you wait for Roki to make a decision, he will kill you, and the same dialogue if you were to save him would play. And that concludes the story of Swelter. Now, my thoughts on the mod. Overall, I thought this mod was amazing throughout. I personally thought that the Central Asia setting was a nice refresher from most other Half-Life mods. The detail that went into every object and interaction made the game that little bit more believable. As for the story, I thought it was decent. I do think that there are a few minor details that could be reworked, such as the reveal of the baby and its impact on the story. One thing I do incredibly like is that you get a choice in how the mod ends. Even if there is no real major impact, it's still nice that you get to pick a side, as throughout the mod, you're constantly getting feedback and information on how each resistance operates and works. And I am a big fan of the different appearances of civilians and how they don't just look like regular people from a totally different environment. As I said earlier in the video, I highly recommend that you play this mod for yourself. It's free and can be completed within a few hours. Oh, and before I forget, let's cover the bonus maps. The first map is the destroyed Resistance village at nighttime. In case you wanted to play a horror game, it plays the exact same and there isn't too much to talk about other than the fact that it's nighttime. Anyways, the second map is the shooting range. Here, you'll be able to find all of the weapons from all of the other maps. You can shoot at some targets to test your skills, and see some of the other weapons that you may have missed out on. Other than that, there's not much else to talk about. And the final map, which is an unreleased Portal mod that the devs have decided to scrap. The mod begins with a cutscene of the classic Portal radio, as you are suddenly transported into an Aperture Labs facility. Damn, I always forget how good of a banger this music is. After picking up a hammer, you receive a phone call that comes through this device. The guy on the other end says that there are a group of liquidators that are coming our way and that we need to escape. A liquidator will come into the room. You need to grab his attention so he'll shoot the glass and you can be set free and also grab the SMG. Making your way down into a loading area, you'll need to drive a forklift over to this gate and lift it up and pass underneath. Now, I'm not too sure how you're supposed to get up there, but I used this box to crouch jump over to the broken staircase. You'll come into this massive transport room with liquidators on the other side that are trying to kill you. At the other end of your side, there will be a saw that you can pick up and power to saw through a couple of different locks. Once you make your way upstairs, you can use the cargo to jump across to the other side and deal with the liquidators. Further along is an elevator that you can use to get to the second floor. Passing through a hallway will take you to an office where you can switch the direction in which the cargo moves. You then jump onto the cargo and follow it down to another area of liquidators, where you can jump off and go inside this room. If you press this green button, the gate will open down below, allowing you to enter and finish the mod. Now, I think there's supposed to be some big reveal with this woman at the end, but due to this being unfinished, it doesn't have any real impact. And thank you so much for watching this video. I know it's longer than my typical or average video length. More Team Fortress 2 content is on the way, don't worry. It isn't just going to be Half-Life from now on. I want to try and mix up my content a little bit. And, yeah. I don't know how to end this.